Well, welcome to Cape Cast. Gentlemen, how are you doing tonight?
Good, good. How about y'all?
Good.
Good. Thanks for joining me. Ryan is absent tonight, so this big episode, monumental Moon Knight episode that we've been talking about for weeks now. Episode 4. Ryan's missing out on, so
Yep. True.
it's unfortunate. So we'll have to wait until Tuesday, I guess, to get his thoughts on it. But anyway, appreciate you guys joining in. I guess before we get started, let me just go ahead and go through the kind of red tape here. Thanks for joining us. This is CiNEMACHiNE. We're at the Cape Cast section of CiNEMACHiNE. But yeah, follow basically all of our social platforms at CiNEMACHiNEpod.com. You can find links to all those: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. As well as Patreon. If you feel like throwing us some dollars, we'd appreciate that. And then like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that stuff here on YouTube. All of that helps kind of move us further into your algorithm and others that will hopefully watch our show. So we appreciate that. Okay, we watched Moon Knight episode 4. Just real quickly, I'll give a little rundown of what that episode was. It's called The Tomb. It's directed by Justin Benson, Aaron Moorhead, and the synopsis is Mark and Steven must find balance as supernatural threats ahead look to stop them. And per usual, we're full spoilers here for Moon Knight going forward, so you've been warned.
Spoilers!
So, gentlemen, episode 4, the biggest episode in Marvel history, has dropped. And I'm not going to go first because I think it is possibly my turn to go first, but I'm not going to do that because I'm hosting. So let's go with Britt. What do you think about episode 4, The Tomb?
So I thought it was good, but I would definitely say that with as much, I guess, hype and everything that was kind of put out there, I don't necessarily think it lived up to all that hype. There's moments in this episode that I loved, and I'll talk about some of those a little bit later. With pieces I loved, pieces I didn't, but for the most part, I mean, I think it was another one of those solid episodes, good episodes. But personally, I don't think there was anything that was like mind blowing. Like, I don't know. I was expecting to probably see some cameo and things like that based on what was said from other reviewers, prior to the episode coming out. But all in all, I think it's a good episode for the series. Really love the ending part, which we'll talk about later. Yeah. But I definitely
seems like that was
something
the
different
thing that they were all talking about. But we'll get into it. I don't feel like it's the thing that people think it is. As far as well, we'll talk about it. But cool.
Yeah.
Alan, what did you think?
Well, I don't want to sound like I'm parroting what Britt just said, but a lot of the same things. I mean, I mean, I enjoyed the episode. To me, it was a fun episode. It wasn't as, like Britt said, it wasn't as mind blowing as what, everybody I think had in mind, had, pictured in their head or whatever, but it was, they had some fun, like almost like Raiders of the Lost Ark vibes to it there at the beginning that I did enjoy.
I can't say that. I know people that watch this show know that I haven't seen those movies, but I'll say The Mummy.
There you go. That's those type, Tomb Raider type thing. It had that.
Yeah.
Maybe even a little bit of the Goonies in there. Who knows? It had several things in it that I enjoyed. But there were some things, like Britt said, that could have went a different direction. But I'll get into those a little bit later.
Cool. Yeah, I'm not going to differ too much from you guys. I felt like it was solid, but again, hype got the best of it. And it's one of those things where I do my hangups for this show, unfortunately, are going to continue in terms of the tone. And it's not necessarily that it is a bad tone for what it is. It's more expectations of what I thought I was getting than what we're actually getting. So just got to come to terms with that. And I haven't yet. But despite that, I did think it was solid. I I enjoyed the little twist at the end. I don't think this is a thing where it's like this is really what's happening and he's in this institution. I think it's just where he's at currently in his state of mind at the end of this episode. I just don't foresee them committing to that for the rest of the season. Yeah. But I guess we'll find out. But yeah, thought it was solid. But yeah, kind of missed.
I think
there on the hype level.
I think one of the things that I'm noticing more and more in the show, though, is like it's either the writers, directors, or someone's, maybe the director for cinematography or something, but they're doing a lot of like callbacks, nodes and stuff to all of the MCU movies. So even the opening scene had the whole like camera swirl, like what we got in Black Panther. So like I'm liking a lot of those, but I still feel like there's just pieces that kind of feel out of place. Like the very opening scene where she's like, the guys are attacking her in the car, and then she like blows up the car with a road flare.
That
like,
feels like a like fifth grader wrote it.
Yeah.
I don't even think that works. Like, I don't think a road flare is going to cause ammunition to go off. You got to have some sort of ammunition involved.
And I don't believe that it goes off like a firework either. So that was that was a little weird, but maybe they had some fireworks.
It's one of those
in there,
things where I feel like sometimes when you have like Hollywood writers, it's like they don't really know this type of stuff. They've never picked up a gun, I'm sure. They're like, like you throw a firework in there or a road flare, and it makes
you flick a cigarette into the gas, like that for some reason works in movies.
Shoot the gas tank. I mean, maybe that does. I don't know. I've never tried it, but I don't. It's got to be some sort of spark for that. Yeah. But with the whole like box of ammunition and how, I mean, maybe it's the case. Maybe they seem very versatile in this episode, especially. Those things go a long way when it comes to self-defense. So maybe something there.
When they were standing over the body and she grabbed the road flare and like stood out and like held it out, this had Jurassic World feels to me. Like T-Rex chased me this way. I don't know. I mean, like, I couldn't remember.
I guess Jurassic World too. They do it in Jurassic World as well. But,
she does it in high heels in Jurassic World.
True.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I felt like there was just pieces that it kind of felt out of place. I know that they were trying to set it up to show like she can also handle herself, and I think that's kind of what we saw in the first half of this, and then kind of going into the mummy part. And I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are of that scene. So they get to the tomb, they're inside the tomb, and then we see the mummy, like embalming people, I guess. Like, what were your thoughts in that kind of whole piece? Out of place, good, bad?
Alan,
go for it.
I'll say this. It was I thought it was fun. I as far as the out of place or the it was almost like a little horror shift there in the episode. It was because it was you hadn't really seen that a whole lot. I mean, early on in the first episode, you might have seen it a little bit when Steven was running, up and down the elevator kind of thing. There were some scary moments there, but it really felt like they were trying to key into some of those, I don't know, almost like the old mummy, like Universal Monsters type thing. It had that feel, that look. But I thought it was fun. Like I said, I don't necessarily feel like it was, it was kind of shoehorned in. We're in a pyramid. Let's have a mummy. Like that. It just felt like the natural progression, I guess.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I do like. I mean, I like the tone of it. I like the cat and mouse nature of it. There was some cool visuals there, and in terms of kind of creating some suspense. But yeah, I mean, I agree. It did kind kind of felt a little shoehorned in. From
I guess I guess what I don't really understand right now, and this is my only like gripe as of now with the kind of the show, is it feels a little inconsistent. So like when we had the jackals at the beginning of the show, the series, and nobody could see them but Moon Knight, right? So nobody else could see them. Now we've got like mummies that are alive and doing things, but everybody sees them kind of doing their own thing. I kind of going back to that tone and stuff. Like I love this tone. I love the jackal scene tone. I love the storage unit tone, the horror kind of feel. Like I really wish and maybe this is kind of going back to where we were saying like expectations on the show. Like I wish they would have done that more throughout the show, because this did feel kind of like suspenseful thriller while she's running from the mummy and they like grabs her and stuff. Because I know Kelly was watching, she was like, nope, not watching this, nope. Like it was stressing her out with the mummy chasing. But again, you kind of go to the other parts of it and it's like it's not the same feel. So it's like I really wish that carried.
There's definitely some inconsistency for sure. And also even in that sequence, you reminded me of this, like when she's running for her life from this mummy that's trying to kill her. She comes to the edge of that cliff, then she kind of like, oh, okay, I'm gonna take my time. I'm gonna get out the road flare. Like it's almost like the tension kind of stops. She like takes a breath, but like she's supposed to be running for her life here in this moment. And
and the mummy had that like almost like predator sound to it, you know, that rattling, that clicking sound. Yeah. And when it did, like when she's fumbling around looking for the road flare on the edge of this, like the edge of this hole, you know, and she hears that, she says, Stephen. And I was sitting there thinking, girl, you know, he don't sound like that. You know? Why would you say that?
I mean, maybe that's intentional in terms of like that horror movie trope.
Yeah. And it does add a little bit of, you know, it was getting pretty tense, I guess. And if you've got, you know, some kid viewers in there, it might add a little levity to it, I guess. When you, you know, because I know me, Mandy, and Cal were sitting there watching it, and he even said that. That's not Steven. You know?
So was there anything else in the tomb specific, like that whole sequence? I mean, I did appreciate some of the tension that was created by including this mummy, if that's what we're calling it. I don't even. It's like a. I don't know. It's not a mummy. Like it's not
guardian. It was like the guardians that were buried in there with the
pharaohs.
With the pharaohs. Yeah, to protect the protectors or whatever. Gotcha. But I felt like there was a lot of in that scene specifically before the guardian mummy protector thing, whatever it is. Before it came out, when they were kind of examining the room, and you know, Stephen climbed up on that ledge and saw the whole embalming area and had everything, how it was all staged. I felt like there was a lot that they were really relying on the audience to know their stuff as far as archaeology goes. And there were things that, you know, when they described, I couldn't tell you the name of that, whatever that thing was, that mummy thing, you know, like like whatever, like, but they just popped off and kept going. You know, there wasn't any deep dialogue that explained that a little more. So it felt a little, that's what I mean. It felt a little shoehorned, as in, well, we're in a tomb. Let's throw a mummy in there. You know, that's the only way to do this. So that was my only gripe with that scene. I love the way they set it up, and I loved Stephen's excitement when he was finding all these things and geeking out over it. I just wish they would have spent a little more time just, you know, being a little more descriptive with it, I guess.
I think that's kind of so far with the series, I feel like this should have been like 8 episodes, because I feel like a lot of these episodes feel really rushed, where they go from one thing to another. And so like, even here, when they get into the tomb, it's like the first room they come to, they're like, oh wait, this is a maze. This is how the entire tomb is set up. Like, and they haven't explored.
They know that it's the Eye of Horus somehow.
Yeah. That was amazing.
So, and again, kind of going back there, they study this, so maybe they know it. But to your point, like the viewers know that, so they're jumping too quick to stuff and not exploring and booby trapping, that kind of stuff.
Well, just them walking through it and like, oh, this is the Eye of Horus that we're walking. Like, how did you come to that conclusion? Like, there's a lot of like
you were in one
corners,
one room in a half a hallway. How do you know that? Like, there's no way you should know that.
It's one of those things again with like the writing team behind this. It's like it feels like they're like, it would be cool if this tomb is in the shape of the Eye of Horus. Well, how do we convincingly have our characters learn that? They're smart, so they just figure it out. Like, I don't know, that kind of stuff bugs me. And
well, even like
with how, sorry to cut you off, Britt. With how like conveniently like some of the characters just kind of like Harrow just pops up randomly and he's like just standing there talking for a while.
How did he limp his tail all the way through there and not get eaten by the mummy thing? You know what I mean? Like how did he make it? That doesn't make any sense to me.
He's in pristine. He just, Ethan Hawke on set, fresh out of wardrobe, no dirt on him, nothing. He's, I don't know.
Yeah.
I will say this though, and going back just real briefly to the whole like guardian mummy-ish scene or whatever, like I did appreciate that whole like, some of the suspense that was created. And especially right before that scene ends with the whole like severed arm bone thing. It's very like, I mean, okay, sorry to bring up Zack Snyder in this Moon Knight review, but it's very Doomsday, BVS, spiky.
Use what you got kind of thing. Like use it as a weapon. It's out there. Yeah.
So surprising to see in a Marvel movie. I shouldn't be surprised, but I am.
I mean, again, I think if they would have just had like another 5 minutes, right, like of the series, maybe 10 minutes in the tomb could have helped a little bit. Again, we're just kind of finding the bullets, being like, why is there bullets here? And then you hear a couple things of gunshot, and then we magically stumble on, the mummy thing. You really didn't get like they're not afraid that they're screaming and gunshots, and there's like, well, let's just keep going through.
Well, well, even with that, like with Harrow having this conversation with her, like about her dad, and she's just like, oh, what'd you say? And then she's like, I forgot that there's like a, this is life threatening, and I have no idea if Stephen whoever is even alive right now, but I'm gonna take this beat and we're gonna have a conversation right now. I don't know, just stuff like that. It's like, I get it. I see it on like, okay, this is the beat we want to hit, but like it just doesn't make sense given the circumstances.
I mean, that's what I was going to say, to go kind of along with what you said and what Britt has said. I feel like they could have wasted less time on that conversation, like just another little mind game. Did you ever talk to Mark about what happened to your father or whatever? And that would have probably been good enough.
It could have created a situation where she was stuck wherever she was, and he has that conversation instead of still having her be able to continue to run for her life and try and get out of this place and help Mark or Stephen or whoever at that given moment. Like instead of just like forgetting everything and being like, okay, let's talk about this across this big ravine of, I don't know. That's maybe I'm being too picky, or maybe I expect more. I don't know, but that just bugs me. When characters make decisions that they wouldn't make in these circumstances, not that these circumstances are actually realistic, but given this is the world that these characters live in, so you've got to have some sort of like, you got to have consistency and make it believable. At least, what are the rules? So
well, and I think that kind of like it travels right into kind of the next scenes, right, where they go kind of straight from there right into the tomb. So now they're in the tomb. They find the sarcophagus. There's like, I mean, again, I'm wanting like an Indiana Jones type thing, right? They're having to go down these pathways. There's booby traps. There's whatever. Like that's what I'm expecting in this episode, and I really think that that's what they should have focused more on.
Right.
But instead, I mean, they really focused on her story, like kind of going back to like her and her dad, and more of that gets revealed. But yeah, they just kind of like walk straight up, and then he's like thinking for 5 seconds. Is like, oh, I know where that is. It's in his mouth. Like
Yeah.
there's not
Yeah.
much of like, let me go read all the clues. I'm in an escape room type
Yeah.
feel. It's just no, open it up, stick my hand down there, and hey, look, I got it.
Yeah.
You know?
No, that's a good point. I mean, and that goes back to what we were talking about earlier with how just convenient a lot of the reveals or them figuring these things out. They don't spend any time trying, like it's like they skipped ahead like a couple chapters or some beats that were like of them. It's just one of those things where it's like I mean, it's common in a lot of I guess movies or TV shows that are I guess not as well made, and just they didn't think to include like just the journey essentially. Like they just jump from A to B.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's because they were trying to make it as concise as possible. I don't know, but it just comes across as like, again, convenience.
Yeah.
Um,
Or maybe it's because Oscar Isaac signed a 6-episode deal and that was all they were going to get. So they're like, crap, we got to do this. We got to make this work now. Yeah, that's it.
Knock it out.
Yeah. And it kind of goes back to what you were saying, Alan, though. Like, I feel like they expect the audience to know more than we do. Like, yeah, there's going to be people out there that know all about Egyptian stuff and the different leaders and things like that. But like, even this whole reveal of Alexander the Great and all of that, it would just seem like it was like glossed over. And it's just like, you know who this is. I talked about, Mesopotamia writing. You should know exactly who that is, right? Like, and like, no, who is that? And then you hear the name, and you're like, oh, okay. But still, like, I feel like it's supposed to be way more impactful than it is, but it's because they're not giving you anything else.
Well, and I feel like part of that is because that's what Marvel has built. They've built a world where, I mean, even the average moviegoer knows a basic lore of every one of these characters, these Marvel heroes. And Moon Knight, maybe, people may know Steven, they may know Mark, they may know Jake, but they don't know. They're not Egyptologists, you know what I mean? Like this, it's that's completely different. You're not talking about comic book lore anymore. You're talking about stuff that I learned when I was in the 8th grade that I've never ever had to use again.
Right? And it's one of those things where, I mean, for me personally, I really love and I'm interested in like ancient Egypt, and as far as like I would love to learn more while watching this show, but I just feel like they're not putting in the work to where has that like they're the lore is not being they're not diving in on it. They're just kind of like very surface level with it.
Well, Steven works
and glossing over a lot of it.
Steven works in the gift shop. He is not a tour guide. He's not supposed to explain these things.
Yeah. Well,
maybe that's the hidden message.
That's it. Everybody calm down. There we go.
Kind of going back to like Looper, where he's like, just don't think about it. Just go with it.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, well, yeah. Except that was intentional. Yeah. I think. And
maybe.
Yeah. Anything else in the tomb section that we want to touch upon before Harrow's men come in and he delivers a couple gunshots?
No, I mean, I think the only other thing to kind of call out, and this is kind of going back to the comics, the origin of Moon Knight, is essentially when he's in one of these tombs, he dies, everybody dies, and that's where he becomes Moon Knight. So he's saved. He pretty much says that. He's like, I was supposed to die that night, meaning he got shot, and that's where Khonshu took over his body, turned him into the Moon Knight. And so I'm sure that's going to be the thread over the next 2 episodes of like explaining that to her, and just be like, look, I was there with your dad, and all this kind of stuff. But I mean, again, kind of breezed over some of that. I think if this would have been a movie, I think if they would have had more time, you would have got some type of flashback or something like that. But with their limited time, potentially limited budget, they're kind of cutting a lot of that out. And I just feel like I want to see it. I want to see director's cut with all this stuff kind of added in.
I feel like that is definitely going to be the thing. I don't see the next 2 episodes. I just don't foresee them having it in some mental institution. I think this is his purgatory type area. The next episode is going to be conscious, like the Jake sarcophagus thing that's in there. They kind of, hint at. That's going to be how he returns, is through the Jake personality as far as coming back to life.
I feel the same way. I don't feel like they can waste much longer in there because Mark found Steven so fast. You know what I mean? Like he could have still maybe felt like he was crazy until he found the guy that looked exactly like him. That was Steven. So it kind of threw a wrench in that whole. That whole setup was so awesome. I loved him waking up there. That was really cool to me. I dug it. Mandy was even like at the beginning of it. Mandy was like, "Oh my God, is this going to be the way the show ends? He's just crazy, or whatever." And I was like, "There's 2 episodes left, so I doubt that." And then the more it went, but I love that twist. I did love.
Yeah. I don't see it as a twist, though. I mean, the twist would be if they stick with it, and this is the reality. I just don't think that's the case.
I love not really the twist, the turn, I guess. I love that turn, how it went from this battle to, battle to save the world to bam, he's in an institution. Yeah. Haro is his doctor, like it just.
Well, and it's like cool. You had the TV show playing with Steven being the main character, this archaeologist and stuff. Like the thing is, when that happened, I was like, oh man, this is gonna be so cool. Because I don't know if you guys actually watched Legion or made it through all of the Legion series, but that was like a big piece of Legion where he would just out of nowhere end up in the insane asylum. Everybody around him was all these characters you'd been seeing through the episode. So like this was like a 1-to-1 to that show. So again, kind of going back to those nodes and stuff of other shows and other Marvel properties. Like when that happened and then you saw all those pieces, like, oh, this is gonna be so cool. If that's like part of the twist, like I didn't think that was how it was gonna end or anything, but like if it really was part of the twist, and then you saw the other Steven and it kind of went through there. But to kind of get backstory, a little bit of backstory, there is a comic run where this happens inside of the comics, and essentially it is Khonshu puts him there in his mind, and Khonshu needs to talk to him and get him through like some of these pieces, and a lot of these scenes are kind of almost directly from those couple issues of the book. So I have a feeling, kind of going off that, this is not Khonshu doing it. It's I can't think of her name, but the other god doing this so that she can talk to him, which we saw her at the end. So I think what we're going to get out of this is like her talking to him, kind of explaining like, hey, I'm not really bad trying to do all this stuff. I'm doing this because I think those other gods are the actual villains in here. Because when you see at the very beginning and he puts the statue up on the little like cubby and it kind of zooms out a little bit, there's a ton of statues up there, meaning they have entrapped tons of these Egyptian gods. And I think that they're controlling something. So I don't like, that's my initial thought. And we're going to get like a big, like Khonshu versus the gods with her, and even maybe, Harrow helping or something at some point, in these last 2 episodes. Maybe that's where my mind is as far as predictions kind of go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you might be right, Britt.
Yeah. I don't know. I definitely love that asylum and all the details they put throughout that whole thing. So
it was really cool. And I thought that as far as like a technical thing, I thought having Steven and Mark sharing the frame together, they did that really well. Like,
that was very, very clean. I was like trying to dissect it, like how do they? I mean, I know anything's possible now, but it just it looked so I don't know. It just looked so real. I mean, it was really awesome. That was very well done.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where, because it's done so well, it doesn't draw attention to itself, that you shouldn't be thinking like, these are the same. This is one actor playing both of these parts in the same scene. And you can see both of them touching each other, embracing. You see them like, it doesn't look, there's a few, like you can tell like after they like hug, you can tell where the cut is. But after that, it's like, they feel like they're existing in the same frame. You can see like there's it's not an instance where they used to just do this where they'd have one character to the right, one character to the left, and have the seam in the middle. Like the camera's kind of moving around. And again, it's done so well where it doesn't draw attention to himself, and you don't even think about the technicality of like, oh yeah, this isn't a twin situation where they got the same guy playing, or twin boys playing the characters. It's the same actor, and then you've got them again, like when they're before the hippo goddess appears, you've got them moving across that hallway. So it's not like it's not an easy thing for them to have achieved, but however they did it, I thought was very well done. Could be face replacement, possibly. I don't know. But that's beside the point. It was cool to have that WTF moment, just with like that actual set piece and on its own, all the little hidden Easter eggs, all the different characters that we've come across throughout this entire show, having some sort of role, and in addition to just like, I guess they like taking a step back and trying to figure out for yourself, is this real? Is this is all in his head? Is this some sort of purgatory situation? I think that's what it is personally, and that we're gonna snap back after the Jake personality comes out. But
I wish it was longer. I wish it was longer. That's my only complaint. Just like the Jackal thing in episode 1, I just wish we had like 15 minutes of him trying to figure out if it's real or not. And then seeing the other personality.
That's what I was going to say. They didn't allow any time for you to dangle on that hook. They before they reeled you in and showed you that that this isn't reality. That they're in. So I wish that it would have ended, with him still sedated or confused, whatever, or him even almost coming to terms with.
Could have ended with some sort of line of dialogue to like kind of hold you over with when he actually meets the Harrow version, like whatever the therapist, psychiatrist, and then next episode. I mean, but me personally, I don't know. I guess I'm indifferent about it because, like you're saying, it just if
I think if
I don't know how rewarding it is to end on that if they pull the rug back out from under you in the next episode, and it's because you run into the same things that we did with like WandaVision, where we start theorizing, oh, what this could mean this, and then we like, it's all BS.
I agree with you on that. I think we couldn't leave it on a cliffhanger at the end of the episode just because of that, but I do feel like they should have reworked some timing to where you were there for a little bit longer. It just felt like every little thing they revealed was like kind of back to back to back to back. And you were like, oh my gosh, look at that. And then all of a sudden it just like, never mind.
Yeah. I mean, he went from like almost comatose, sedated to running full speed down the hallway, like within minutes, so it just, that part was a little weird, but I agree with Britt. And like you said, Brandon, they couldn't have ended on a cliffhanger because then you would have, the whole next episode, they would have had to figure out how to cut back. What I mean? It was going to happen, so I would rather it have happened at the end of this episode than I would right at the beginning of the next episode. So,
And I think the beat that they do choose to end it on is, it makes sense for this episode in terms of just with the biggest W2F like that you can possibly end on.
Hi.
Yeah, that was funny. That was funny.
So,
Yeah.
anything else? 2 episodes left.
No, I'm like I said,
theories that we want to throw out there.
Honestly,
No,
and that's
not-
the thing. Like, I feel like we're having to rely on our our Egyptologist laurels, and we don't know anything. Like, we don't know anything about this stuff. So I don't even know the hippo goddess's name. You know, like
yeah.
so I don't.
Yeah,
I don't even know where to begin.
Toweret, I think.
Tower.
Mm. Yeah, she's like she's half hippo, half crocodile. But no, I mean, I think the only thing that is intriguing to me is just that first scene that was saying where you see all the different gods that are kind of put in a statue. Like I want that to mean more. I want there, because I mean, if you look at like even like Thor, so we just got the trailer of Thor 4 and all of that. Like, we're gonna see Christian Bale playing, the God Killer, so like, or the God Butcher. So I'm hoping that we're gonna get more of that, and maybe that's gonna help us go into Thor as well at some level. I don't know.
Yeah, I would like. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want it to be tied in just for the sake of being tied into the MCU, but I would love some sort of organic something that fits the story to where you can have that just little Easter egg that he is part of this bigger world, because right now this seems like maybe the only thing we're going to get of Moon Knight, and I don't want that. I want more. You know what I mean? The show hasn't lived up 100% to my expectations, but it's lived up to it enough where I want to continue to see Oscar Isaac in this role. So there needs to be something.
You didn't want to see him in the tomb, like bump into Jane Foster and Darcy, like going through.
Yeah, nothing like that. Nothing like that.
In the corner.
they're the Einstein Rosen Bridge. They're trying to find it there or whatever, but no.
Apparently there is a Kang the Conqueror Easter egg in the tomb. And I think there was also a motif symbol or something in a previous episode too that was supposed to reference Kang as well. I don't know.
Yeah, there was also
I
something
can't act like I
the Sphinx.
discovered this. I just saw an article about it.
Yeah, there was something to do with the Sphinx too, like one of the references he makes and stuff. So I don't know. I mean, I definitely think we will get something. And I agree with Alan. Like, I don't want it to feel like, oh, we just have to push this in, or we have to get the next series like Miss Marvel, some kind of crossover to get to there. But like, I do feel like it's kind of on their own. I mean, if the sky was doing all that stuff, wouldn't you think like the Sorcerer's Supreme would be like, what's going on with the stars tonight? Like, little things like
that's
that.
the thing that you run into with all of these connected universe sequels. It's like, where was so and so during all this? Why didn't they come to help? In these big, world ending situations. It's like, well, you gotta kind of get over that.
Yeah, I know. But
it connects enough. All right, Britt. Listen, you guys got it good over there.
Oh, I do. Now, I'm excited to see what they're going to do in the last 2 episodes. Some of like the promo stuff we're already seeing, like some fight scenes with Moon Knight back in the full gear and everything. So scenes we haven't seen yet, where he's fighting Harrow and things like that. So it's going to happen, but it's just going to be interesting where they go from that ending scene and then kind of continuing in.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. I mean, there's only 2 episodes left, and I just feel like there's so much ground left to cover, so I just don't know. I just don't know how they're going to, with the pacing issues that we've seen. I just don't know that that's going to get any better with only 2 episodes left. And don't get me wrong. You guys know, I love everything, so like, I'm going to watch it anyway, and I'm going to enjoy it, but I want it to make sense. I want it to be fluid. I want it to, I don't know. I want all of it. I want to have my cake and eat it too.
Well, that's not a lot to ask for, Alan, in terms of wanting it to, the things, not the cake and eating it too, but all those things you said prior. You should get those things. You deserve those things.
I do. You're right. You're right. I do.
Cool. Well, anything else before we get out of here?
I think I'm good, man.
Was it life changing? Episode 4, we all sent our smirky faces to each other in our text thread, trying to keep each other off our sin if it was the most monumental experience of our lives or not.
It was one of the more fun episodes of the season.
Yeah,
but I don't think it was mind blowing. You know what I mean? Like episode 1 was awesome. Episode 2, meh. Episode 3, eh. Episode 4,
meh.
meh.
I think if you added 5 more minutes at the end of that and you left it on the cliffhanger, I'm not saying you should have, but if you did, then I could see people saying this is so crazy because he's, just dreaming it all. Because I think if that happened, yes, I would say it was monumental, mind blowing, whatever.
I think,
but
they should stop doing this in the press.
Yeah,
stop overhyping this stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't ever do them any favors. Just let the things be the things. I know that they have to do that, and
that's what I was going to say. I probably would have enjoyed this episode so much more had I not been expecting so much more. You know what I mean? That's really it. Because it was a fun episode. It really
Anytime
was.
you let your audience start to dream and imagine and think of things and think about theories, and it's always a double-edged sword. It creates hype, but at the end of the day, most of the time, people are let down because they think of, like, Lost, for instance. That was the show that was built upon mystery boxes and people theorizing, and YouTube channels saying, "Oh, would you see this?" And they had this, and then they have all these theories, and everybody gets excited, and then you start to come up with, okay, this is what, and this is the way to do it because this makes the most sense. And then they don't do that, and what they do is like, oh, it's a little bit of a letdown. That's just kind of the way it goes with everything. Like, you overhype something, and you give, that is kind of the pitfall of the weekly format, even though I do enjoy the weekly format more than the binge. With a show that is built upon, not that this show is necessarily built upon mystery boxes as much, but it does have a few of those there. There is that pitfall of the show kind of not living up to those kind of like fan theories, and expectations can kind of get ahead of you, and it ends up being a letdown by the end of the series. So it is what it is. Just put a cap on that, guys. Just don't pull a Paul Bettany like he did in WandaVision. Don't do just let the show be the show, and it's all good.
You know what they could have done. They could have walked past like a statue, and it was like Apocalypse from the X-Men movies.
Yeah,
that's what they should have done.
Think so.
Oscar Isaac back there with himself in there. No, I think that's the biggest thing. Is, to your point, like, all these episodes get hyped, but at least they kind of known that a little bit, and they didn't leave us on that cliffhanger, like they did with Quicksilver and other instances before.
Oh yeah, that was.
God. Yeah, that was quite. That was something. I will say that. That was something.
Prime example of letting the fans.
That's what I was fixing to say. There hasn't been a boner moment where Brandon's like, nope, I'm not watching this show anymore. he's hanging in there. There's only 2 left, Brandon. You got it.
No, we'll finish this for better or for worse. No, it's not for worse. It's a fun.
Well, it's got Oscar Isaac in it. You're gonna watch every bit of it. You're gonna eat it up.
Well, I will say, I mean, I know as we're kind of wrapping up, I think that's the one thing that's really saved this show, in general, is the fact of how good he is. And I think that this episode shows that the most, because you see him side by side in the same scene, not just in a mirror, because you see them there, and it's so crazy because it's the same person, but they don't look like the same person. They don't act like the same person. It really does feel like there's 2 different people on that set when we know it's not. So
I'll
doing a good job.
I will agree with you. It's funny. I was watching a lot of his mannerisms as Mark and Steven and his facial, like the way he contorts his face. He's a little more like doofy with Steven.
So I was going to say like meek, you know,
he's like
meager,
sunken in, and
like he doesn't like his postures. You know, he's got a slouchy posture when he's Steven. You know, he just I don't know.
Yep, he's
cool stuff.
He's good. Always enjoy him, and that is my my silver lining with this project. Now that the tone has kind of failed me for the most part, he is the saving grace of the show for me, and you know, Ethan Hawke too.
I saw Six and say Harrow is slowly becoming one of my favorite Marvel villains. Ethan Hawke's killing it. I'm enjoying him.
Cool. Well, guys, once again, thanks for joining. Before we get out of here, let me do these social tags. Once again, find everything that we do at CiNEMACHinePod.com. You follow our social platforms on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And if you feel so inclined, shoot us some money over at the Patreon. Find everything at CiNEMACHinePod. And then the Capecast side, Twitter at Capecast Show. That's where we're going to be the most active. That's actually the only place we're active at when it comes to social and Capecast specifically. Yeah, I think that's everything. Britt, why don't you plug your channel? Be remiss if I didn't get you to do that.
No. We got a channel over on YouTube, youtube.com/defaultdan. We also have a Twitch, same thing, just twitch.tv/defaultdan. Playing games, a lot of Disney games and things like that. We talk about nerdy stuff and just hang out. So come check us out. Playing a new game, Mirrorverse, which looks really cool. Got a lot of cool art. So if you guys are into like Todd McFarlane type stuff, he has a lot of inspirations, the toy line, all that kind of stuff. And are you gonna
be playing the DC Universe game when it comes out? The what's it called? The one that's like Smash Brothers, but with all the WB characters.
It's all the Warner Brothers characters. I don't remember what it's called.
What is it called?
Yeah.
I saw the trailer, the little teaser,
multiverse or something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a shot. There's a handful of cool games that are about to come out. So
every time I see one of those Mirrorverse action figures, one of the McFarlanes, I think about you, Britt. That's all I think about now is you, dude.
We just picked them all up. So we did a small unboxing with 2 of them. We're gonna do some more unboxings as we go. I just got to get a better camera setup because it worked last time. It just wasn't perfect. So,
you do a great job, Britt. Don't be so hard on yourself.
I try.
Well, once again, thank you guys for popping in. And I guess we'll see you all next time on Tuesday for Capecast Live. And then we got 2 more of these suckers to churn out after these last 2 episodes drop. So we'll look forward to that. But until next time, y'all have a good one. We'll see you on the Capecast.